3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street. We are here with Trade Like Einstein. I am Peter Tuchman, and we're here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in the balcony. History is made in this building every single day. Somebody with my long-term experience, I've been here for 137 years. It is my responsibility to help teach you how to navigate this market successfully. Boom!
Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street, from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, right under the podium. Forget about it. Episode 9387 of What the Heck's Going On. In fact, we've got a bell right here. How you doing? Market's open. Open for business. So look, where are we? We are, look, amazingly enough, we are just, we're in December. We're in December 10th, right? It's amazing. I know I'm about a year behind everybody. You know, it is amazing what an extraordinary market. And it's so funny how no matter what the market does, no matter how high the market gets, everybody's looking for the big bubble, the big crash, the big sell-off. Sell-offs are healthy. Markets go up, markets go down. That's what they do. Now, you know, at the end of today, because we did have a little bit of a reversal, the market got taken down by Nvidia. Stuff out of China. There was some accusations about an antitrust thing or a competition, a monopoly story, that they have a monopoly on a bunch of things. And so there were some major accusations against Nvidia, which has been best of breed, Jensen best of breed for the whole year. It's carried the whole market. It was the first time there was really any kind of bad news on it. And you know how one stock can really drag down a sector, and that's what it did. It took the NASDAQ down. We broke a winning streak in the NASDAQ. But it's a day. A day doesn't make a market. A week doesn't make a market. You know, so the market was all red throughout the day. I think we closed down around 25 handles on the S&P. I'm not really sure we closed out on the Dow. But, you know, up until today, think about it. Friday we traded and closed at record highs. We had the economic data we were looking for. We had, you know, unemployment did tick up a little bit, and that was majorly a function of the hurricane and some strikes. That was up from 4.1 to 4.2, but still, the trajectory has been great with employment, and the numbers have been good. Payroll numbers, 277 versus whatever. Last month, we only had 12 to 14,000. This month, we're back into the hundreds on jobs created, non-farm payroll jobs, right? So net, today is, what day is today? Today is Monday. Okay, on Friday, and I'm trying to get the psychology and the mental state, because you know when you go home after listening to me, you're going to hear everybody in the mainstream media talk about, oh my God, it's over, the selling off, it's the beginning of the end, blah, 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 and all that, you know. Look, it may be, but that's not necessarily the case. When we see markets roll over, it's a lot different than what we saw today. Today's red action, today's sell-off in the market, look, it wasn't even a sell-off. Today was perfectly honest. 25 handles in the S&P is kind of a pebble in your shoe, right? And so you need to understand that, look, we need to identify what is the reason. I always try to explain to you, I call myself a forensic broker. I try to investigate why markets go up, markets go down, right? So today was basically, amazingly enough, we've seen there are some stocks that are so powerful in their sector and in their index that they can actually contribute to the whole market going up or the whole market going down, right? Which is curious. That's why. Maybe you're not in Nvidia. Maybe you're, look, net. The reason Nvidia is the stock it is today may get impacted on the monopoly story, but for the most part, nothing fundamentally has changed. Stocks that got hit today that are not Nvidia, that are not going up against a monopoly charge, this is the kind of day that is an opportunity when the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater and stocks get sold off in an index or all over the market because of one particular stock, and everybody starts dumping stuff. Then that stock that you didn't want to pay top dollar for is trading at a discount, down $5, down $10. That's the time you have your shopping list. That's the time you see the opportunity. You should have a bell flashing, a light flashing in your house. Ask yourself the question, I think, like putting Post-its all over the place. The rules, right, about never turn a winning trade into a losing trade. Always having a plan when you get into a trade. Using technical analysis and risk management when you get into trades. Always protect your downside risk, whether it's an investment or a trade. All these things, my man David Green, my partner at Wall Street Global Trading Academy, always talks about this. There are ways. Look, I just came back from Dubai. It was unbelievable. Thousands of people were there, young young traders, 18 to 25, 20 to 30, young people who are so involved in this market and so knowledgeable and disciplined. Look, it's an amazing thing to be able to teach someone who is like an empty palette. It's like walking up to a beautiful canvas that no one's already painted. When people have bad habits in this industry, it's very hard to change bad habits. But when someone is fresh and new, oh my God, for me and David Green, it's an amazing thing because you get to show them the rules, the discipline, the consistency. They don't have bad habits. Bad habits can turn a good broker into a bad broker. All that being said, today is only Monday, but we've only got 2.5-3 weeks left to the end of this year, and everyone's obviously, the question is Santa Claus coming to town? My gut is he is. Just because today sold off, look, it may change if today the whole week sells off, but my overall posture is that my gut is that we're going to continue the trajectory. Look, it depends on how that story unfolds with China and with Nvidia. Look, we've got plenty of wild cards. We've had quite a wild year, right? Between the whole polarity around the election, about you got 2 wars going on. You've got the whole thing in the Middle East and oil and all those things. Yet the market has continued. Yet Friday, one trading day ago, this market closed at record highs across every indice. That is crazy. The S&P is up 27% for the year. The economic data that came out for last Friday was spectacular. Now, all that being said, we've got CPI, PPI this week. Very important flag economic information. That is the inflation target that basically the Fed will make its decision. We do have the possibility. The last reading was 66% chance of another cut before the end of the year. That may be what pulls Santa. Look, that may throw the fuel on Santa's wagon over there, and the reindeer are just going to fly off into the sunset, right? The wonder is, are we going to trade the year? Are we going to close out the year at record highs? I can't tell you. The market's going to go up, market's going to go down. I cannot tell you that for sure that's going to happen. But the market tells me on a day-to-day basis throughout all the things we've seen this year that there is so much money on the sidelines, people who haven't jumped in yet who are jumping in. People are putting money to work. They don't want to miss this boat. So many of them have missed the boat, whether it's in crypto, in equities, in the S&P, in tech, right? Because nobody ever wants to pay the high. And all year, every day, every week, every month, this year, we've had 57 record closes this year. Imagine that. I don't know how many trading days there are in a year, but we've had 57 record closes this year at the New York Stock Exchange. Isn't that crazy? So it's like, I don't want to pay the high, but I'm sitting around watching today's high, maybe tomorrow's low, right? So look, there's always opportunity in markets. There's never a bad time to buy the market. If you're thinking about a long-term investment, disclaimer across the board, I'm not your advisor. I'm just trying to get you into the right mental state and psychology of learning how to trade and invest correctly, taking the emotion out of it. Your first trade, if you are making an investment in a company, find out how much you've decided. Do your homework. Check out the company, its profitability, the 3 or 4 Ps. Process, product, profitability, and the people. That's what makes a good company, right? I learned that from Marcus Lemonis. That's what makes a good company. Okay, but look into the company, and if nothing's fundamentally changed when the market pulls back, and you've been holding off on buying the stock because you didn't want to pay record highs, have your shopping list and jump in there. But make a determination how much you totally want to invest in that company, and may your first dive into that company be your smallest, and then add on. If it goes up, add on. Going up, if it comes in, average into the stock. That's the only time you ever average into a stock. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day here, even though the market sold off. Look, these are days where it's fascinating to see how everyone talks about it, how other parts of the market sort of fall suit when we do sell off. We haven't had that many. I mean, literally, we've had 7, 8 at most. I would say we've got, you can count them on one hand if you had 7 fingers. How many times we've had any kind of consolidation, sell-off, correction this year at all. And I don't even think we've had a correction. We surely haven't had a crash, but we've had a couple of pullbacks that a couple were significant, right? But I've talked about it. We had in April, 7% pullback, normal after the best first quarter since 2019. May and June, everybody talked recession, depression, all that stuff. That didn't happen. July, a little bit of a pullback. August 5th, the Black Monday crash in Japan. That was a very complicated trade. I've told you all about it a million times. September, first week, the worst week for tech since COVID. The second week of September, the best week for tech since COVID. I think that little scenario, that little tidbit basically describes this year. That in September, the first week of September, it was the worst week for tech since COVID. That's a mouthful of a statement. And then week 2 of September was the best week for tech since COVID. All in 1 week. You can have a completely, look, bull markets used to take 10 years, generations to happen. We can be in a bull market at 11 o'clock and we can be a bear market in the end by the time the market closes. That's the way this market is, the accelerated pace, the news cycle. It's extraordinary. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I love you all. It's a great day to be alive. It's an amazing market. Wake up, find some kindness and gratitude in your life and your attitude, right? And take seriously this market. I need people to invest in stocks and not stuff. I want you all to consider your life and your life's goals a portfolio and build it with in a responsible, disciplined, consistent fashion. Anyway, I wish you all the best. We'll check this out again. This is episode 9487 of Trade Like Einstein for Money News Network. I love it here. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Bing bong, Shotzi. I'll see you later.